Welcome back, deep divers. Today, we're really digging into a fresh take on leadership, something that pushes past maybe the usual corporate talk and, well, invites us to think differently about how we grow people. Forget just managing a team. Our mission today is exploring this really profound shift toward cultivating a harvest. Yeah, so our guide for this deep dive is the leadership harvest, cultivating growth and impact. And we're really zeroing in on leadership rule hashtag 104, which it boldly declares cultivating a harvest is building a team. I mean, that's quite a statement, right? So, okay, let's unpack this. What does it truly mean to shift our whole leadership mindset, to move from just, assembling individuals to actively nurturing a flourishing ecosystem? We'll break down this powerful concept and hopefully uncover some practical steps for you.
Exactly. And what's so compelling about this source, I think, isn't just the metaphor, though that's interesting too. It's how it provides a really robust framework for, well, profound, actionable growth. It's really a call to move beyond that surface level management to a kind of leadership that creates lasting, almost exponential impact for anyone leading now or, aspiring to.
Okay, so let's jump right into the heart of rule hashtag 104, that fundamental distinction it makes
Yeah.
between a harvest and a team. The source argues that true leadership is not about assembling a group of individuals, but about nurturing a community of people who have been empowered to grow, flourish, and bear fruit. So it's not just getting people to work together, it's fostering this vibrant, thriving ecosystem. What's the core philosophical shift here, do you think? The source is really urging leaders to embrace this distinction.
Well, the essential shift, as the source really lays it out, is moving from a kind of transactional mindset to a transformational one. A traditional team often implies, well, a group put together for a specific task, right? Individual contributions tallied up. But this harvest idea, it fundamentally changes that perspective. It suggests a leader's role is more like a gardener, understanding the unique needs of each individual plant, providing the right conditions, and seeing the potential for exponential growth, not just, immediate output. And what's fascinating here is how the source really emphasizes that in this kind of ecosystem, each person's unique gifts and talents aren't just acknowledged. They're actively valued, they're multiplied, and they're sort of released to make a lasting impact. It's about creating an environment where individual potential, well, it directly contributes to collective abundance, far beyond just the sum of parts.
And to really drive that point home, the source gives us this quote that has really stuck with me. You can count the number of seeds in an apple, but you cannot count the number of apples in a seed. That just makes you pause, doesn't it?
It absolutely does, yeah. And if we connect this to the bigger picture the source is painting, this quote, it highlights a pretty profound truth that leaders often, well, we underestimate the ripple effect of our influence. So we tend to think quite linearly, don't we? One action, one result. But this analogy, it forces us into an exponential view. So just like a single tiny seed holds the potential for a whole tree bearing countless apples over seasons, the source argues that a single life touched by our leadership can multiply into a harvest of transformed lives. The real insight here isn't just that influence expands, but that the nature of your initial interaction, the quality, the intentionality of that seed you plant that determines the whole future harvest. It's a really radical call to be intentional in every single connection.
That's a powerful thought. Almost humbling when you consider the long-term implications, right? So for you listening, how might your perspective on influence shift if you started viewing every interaction, every bit of guidance as planting a seed with all that hidden exponential potential, rather than just, say, handing over a single finite apple? Okay, so once we grasp the incredible potential, the natural question is, how do we actually do this? How do we move from just understanding the philosophy to actively cultivating this kind of harvest? Well, the good news is the leadership harvest doesn't just leave us hanging there. It lays out 4 key actions. And the first one, maybe the most foundational, is tilling the soil, getting through the hardness of one's heart. That sounds incredibly personal. What does this tilling process truly involve for a leader?
This point is absolutely critical because it highlights that this kind of transformative leadership, this nurturing kind, it's fundamentally an inside job first. The source states it quite clearly. Heart reconstruction will be essential in this process, but it starts with us. So before we can genuinely help others identify and work through their growth areas, we absolutely have to first recognize our own biases, limitations, and areas for growth. I immediately think of a leader I saw once, brilliant strategically, but struggled immensely with impatience. His hardness of heart, it wasn't malicious, not at all. But it created this environment where people felt rushed, undervalued. So tilling the soil for him meant this painful but really necessary process of confronting his own hard parts. developing that ability to manage our emotions, empathize with others, and maintain a growth mindset. The real breakthrough, I think, is recognizing that leadership for others always starts inwards. You're not just improving yourself, you're building the foundational integrity, the receptivity for everyone you lead.
That makes profound sense. Yeah. You can't really cultivate fertile soil for others if your own internal landscape is, well, rocky and unforgiving. But once our own soil is prepared, we naturally become more open, right? And the source warns that this openness brings its own challenges. Can you elaborate on what the book calls getting pricked by thorns, hurt by those you lead?
It's a real and often uncomfortable truth of leadership, isn't it? As leaders, we're encouraged, rightly so, to create these safe spaces for open communication, feedback, constructive criticism. Those two. But the very act of creating that openness, well, comes with significant personal risk. The source explains that every conversation, every piece of feedback, and every criticism carries the potential to pierce our defenses and touch our emotions. And this raises a really important question. How do we navigate this unavoidable vulnerability? Without instinctively shutting down or, getting defensive, the source suggests the key lies in developing a growth mindset, that belief that our abilities aren't fixed but can be developed through effort and learning. It suggests this mindset acknowledges the inevitability of setbacks and conflicts. So it's not about avoiding the thorns, impossible anyway, but learning how to handle the pricks with resilience. Extracting the lesson, growing stronger, rather than letting the hurt just fester. It's the difference between, say, a critical comment as an attack versus seeing it as potentially useful information for improvement.
That's an incredibly challenging skill, but necessary, it sounds like. Maybe think about a time you felt vulnerable or even genuinely hurt in your leadership journey. Could be from a comment, a perceived slight, a tough interaction. How did you respond then? And what might this idea of a growth mindset offer in terms of a different, maybe more productive approach to those inevitable thorns?
Okay, so we've covered the inner work, tilling our own soil, navigating the sometimes painful feedback. What's the next critical step then for cultivating this thriving leadership harvest? The source moves us to a third key action, and this is often seen as the toughest part of leadership: uprooting, replacing a wrong talent with the right ones.
Right. This action, while undoubtedly difficult, is presented as absolutely essential for the overall health, the vitality of the harvest. Uprooting really has two critical facets, and the source encourages leaders to approach both very intentionally. First, there's the decision-making piece. A leader must objectively assess talent, skills, and fit, and be prepared to make tough decisions when necessary, prioritizing the greater good, the good of the whole ecosystem. This isn't about personal preference, it's about strategic alignment, collective flourishing. But equally important, and what's fascinating here, is the source's emphasis on the execution of these decisions. It's not just about letting people go, it's profoundly about how you do it. The guidance is clear. Treat departing team members with respect, kindness, and support. This means, offering a clear explanation, providing resources for their next step, ensuring dignity. It also means genuinely taking time to recognize the value they brought and the challenges they faced, even if they weren't the right fit long term. This balance between tough strategic calls for the health of the whole and genuine human empathy for the individual, that's what distinguishes great leaders. And it preserves the integrity of the soil for those who remain.
That balance. Strategic decisions and genuine human compassion. It really is a hallmark of effective leadership, isn't it? Being pragmatic without sacrificing humanity. Okay, now for our final action, and perhaps the most expansive one. Ensuring fertile soil, teachable and coachable person. This really seems to frame what it means to create the ideal environment where the harvest can truly thrive, not just survive.
Exactly. This is where a leader's intentionality and long-term vision really come into play. The source details multiple facets here, moving way beyond simple task management to holistic development. Firstly, it's about actively fostering an environment that encourages learning, experimentation, and innovation. And this isn't passive. It requires consistently providing the necessary resources, training, and opportunities for growth. It could be access to courses, mentorship, new projects, whatever fits. Secondly, it's about direct investment of your time and energy. Leaders must invest time and energy in developing your team members, helping them identify strengths, weaknesses, and areas for improvement. This means regular, dedicated one-on-ones focused on their professional journey, not just the latest project update, right? And finally, it involves establishing a really robust culture, a culture of regular feedback, constructive criticism, and mutual accountability. It's about empowering team members to hold each other to high standards, not just waiting for the leader to step in. Think of it like creating a self-sustaining, nutrient-rich environment where everyone feels empowered to both learn and contribute to each other's growth.
That's quite a comprehensive vision for cultivating true growth. So, connecting back to you, the listener, consider your current environment, whether you're leading a team, a project, maybe just influencing a group in your community. Are you actively tilling the soil for yourself, addressing your own growth areas? And are you diligently creating that fertile soil for those around you so they can learn, experiment, grow, and truly thrive? So, wrapping this up, what does this all mean? Today, we've taken a deep dive into leadership rule #104 from the Leadership Harvest. We've explored this really powerful transformative shift from simply building a team, gathering individuals for a task, to truly cultivating a harvest, which emphasizes nurturing, empowering, creating that exponential impact. We broke down the 4 crucial steps the source gives us to make this happen. First, tilling your own soil, working on your inner landscape. Second, embracing the inevitable thorns, the vulnerability of open leadership. Third, strategically uprooting when necessary, always thinking of the whole ecosystem's health. And finally, diligently ensuring fertile soil so every single person can flourish and bear their unique fruit.
Yeah, and if we connect this back to the bigger picture, this approach to leadership, it isn't just about hitting targets or managing a group. It's really about fostering exponential growth and genuine transformative impact. It echoes that powerful idea, doesn't it? Countless apples from just one seed. It's a continuous, intentional process. It demands both deep self-awareness and that dedicated, compassionate nurturing of others. This isn't just a strategy, really. It's a whole philosophy, a new way of engaging with the people we lead.
What a fantastic and challenging concept to really chew on. As you go about your week, maybe consider this. What one seed of a leadership principle from today's deep dive will you choose to plant to really nurture in your own professional garden this week? And just imagine, what kind of long-term harvest could that yield? Keep digging deeper.